Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room. Let me just get in the shot there. Hey, it's Tails. This is what I really sound like. Reviewing a game for the Sega Genesis called Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which should really be called Tails and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because I'm the star of the game. Sonic can't even fly. He's overrated, but me, no, I'm great. So here we go, let's watch the review. Whee! Who gave Tails his pilot's license? He must have gotten that in New Jersey! And Sonic goes Super Saiyan in 1994's Sonic the Hedgehog 3, being played here on the Sega Genesis, the mighty, mighty, mighty Mega Drive. People often ask me, Mark, how can you like Sonic the Hedgehog yet be so bad at his games? And that's a good question. I like the style of the old school 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games, and I played the hell out of the first one on the Sega Genesis back in the day when I was a kid, when I really had more time to memorize it. And that's the thing with Sonic the Hedgehog. They're massive games. They're not just simple platformers. There's many layers to a Sonic the Hedgehog game. I think that's much of the reason they're as popular as they are, especially the old games, which are immensely likable, featuring everyone's favorite blue hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh no, Dr. Robotnik is napalming the Happy Forest. Well, you've got to stop him before he launches the Death Egg and collect all the Chaos Emeralds while you're at it. Which is, of course, easier to say than it is to do. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a challenging game. It's a massive game. And like the other 2D Sonic platformers, you can play it in a variety of ways. You can play for speed, you can play for a high score, or you can just try to finish the game. Regardless of how you play, it's going to challenge you. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 reminds me a lot of Sonic CD. It's a giant game. And you could easily spend a year or two just exploring this thing. There's hidden stuff everywhere and lots of different ways to score points and collect rings. It's also a really nice looking game, pushing the boundaries of what the Sega Genesis could do in 1994. But it's hard to say if this is the best Sonic game. For me, the best, or at least my favorite, will always be the first one, the game I had as a kid and played the most. From there, they got bigger and more complicated and eventually went into 3D, but you know, like most people, I prefer the old ones. Unless he's racing, Sonic makes a very good racing game. As you can see, like Vector Man, this is one of these really detailed, vibrant Genesis games filled with motion. There's many layers of background detail you can play as Sonic the Hedgehog or Tails, or a combination of the two. And I probably can't say anything here that hasn't already been said before. Reviewing Sonic 3 is like reviewing Super Mario Bros. It's known that it's a good game, and Sega makes this extremely accessible. You can easily find it in Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, which can be found for a great price these days, as well as on the Sega Genesis itself. Even though I'm certainly not very good at it and find every single way to die possible. I respect the game because if you remember the era, the early 90s or late 80s were filled with platformers. It was the hot genre at the time, like the first-person shooter today. And companies were cashing in on it with crappy platformers left and right. But Sonic the Hedgehog pushed the envelope of what a platformer could be. Sonic and Tails run and jump and spin and fly through levels. They hop on enemies and battle end bosses, but not in a strictly two-dimensional way like so many other platformers. There's special stages, 3D style stages, Chaos Emeralds to collect, and those aren't easy to get, by the way. Trying to navigate those 3D levels is murder. And here we have Sonic snowboarding. There is a level select cheat code, which took me about 400 tries to get, but exploring the game and practicing some levels is really mandatory. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is a lengthy game, and another feature which greatly enhances the beautiful game cartridge is a save game feature. In the days before the modern internet, back when we were using Netscape, the level select cheat code probably wasn't too easy to come by, so a save game feature is great. Because unless you're Sonic Master #1, you have no chance of getting through the entire thing in your first try. Another neat feature is the shields that Sonic collects during the game, like the bubble shield here, a water shield, and a fire shield. Most of which I would usually deplete by running into spikes. Did you see that? There's spikes on screen that I didn't run into. That's amazing. I'm glad I recorded that shot for proof that I'm not totally awful. Yes, I am. I'm pretty bad at this game. But I still like it, and I have a classic game room. Shout out and thank you to send all the way to Callum from Victoria, Australia. Thank you, Callum, for sending this into space, which is really far from Australia. Is there anyone worse at Sonic the Hedgehog than me? I should have a new username, Sonic Fan Who Sucks #1. Playing Sonic 3, which I highly recommend. It's easy to find, get it for your PS3, 360, PC, or Sega Genesis. But not Super Nintendo, because Sega does what Nintendo don't, and you'll never see Sonic and Mario in the same game. Oh wait, when exactly did they become friends? There's gotta be some hard feelings there, like, hey bro, I'm sorry I hooked up with Peach. Let's go, die!